Hello everybody, welcome back to the Miser's Guide to Evony. In this video we are going to be looking at a consultation that of a player that was around keep 38 and they're looking on how they could improve. So we're going to take a look at just the various aspects of this account. It's kind of a wide-angled approach. We're not looking at anything specific, just areas in which we can improve. Let's start over just looking at troop count. Let's take a look at what kind of troops are set up right now. So it looks like we have tier 14 unlocked, of course, for keep 38. We are a little bit cav heavy because obviously you'd be doing bosses and so on. Makes sense. The 13s feel a little bit low. 12s are looking okay. It really comes down to like what kind of general setups there are, and I'm gonna come back to this. I like that the 11s are built up a bit. Layers are all right. I'm gonna go down. Yeah, they're all millions and so on. Yep, looks good. I was expecting something like this when I saw 200 million troops. He's doing the tier 1 cav strat, which is pretty cool. Yeah, definitely very effective, especially, I mean, they're only about 3 billion size. Absolutely effective. Great idea. Great idea to do that. Let's take a look at generals. Okay, so you got 2 stars on your rally spot officer, which gives you, yeah, some in-city stuff. I don't know if I would necessarily have done the 2nd star. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm sure that there's some better areas to have put it. Let's see. Let's go over military. Okay, warehouse officer, sure. So you're using a William Marshall. Looking pretty good. You're at your 7th star already. Fully specialized. Looks great. Let's take a look at the gear. This is full. Yeah, it is. Full Civ gear. Okay, so it's what? Choreo? 6-piece? Yeah. Okay, ranged attack, siege attack. Okay. We've got siege defense, range defense. Very, so far, ranged and siege heavy. The refines are pretty good overall. Like the percentages are really high. One thing that I would definitely note is you're doing the tier 1 cavalry. Like you've got 200 million of those. The thing is, if you're doing percentages on your refinement, you're not going to get that full effect that you would from those lower tier troops. So what you should actually be looking at doing here is, instead of plus 23.3%, you're going to want the flat, like the flat numbers. I'm going to see if I can find one. Do you have even one? I don't think so. Not in these pieces of gear. Like, okay, like this. Siege machine attack plus 308. The actual number. So for troops that are lower than, I think, around tier 11, tier 12, they get a lot more bonus, especially as you go down. They get a lot more bonus from the flat refinement. If you do percentages, you get a very, very small increase from those lower ones. But when you have 200 million of your tier 1 cavalry, you're definitely going to want some flat refinement there, because they'll get a much bigger boost and they'll do a lot more damage, and you don't really care so much about keeping them alive. You're going to care more about the actual mounted troop attack flat damage. So that would be here and here. Ranged troop attack, I like ranged is not a bad unit, but they're a lot better offensively than they are defensively. There's nothing wrong with them defensively. I'm just thinking that I would much rather siege machine attack or I mean, range is fine as a backup, but I guess at a 3 billion size, it's a little bit better the way you have it set up. But in the future, when you transition to bigger play and you have to deal with siege attacks and so on, you're going to want to improve that so that you're a little more defensible and you're killing stuff off. Because those range troops, they don't get as much bang defensively. Because if the enemy has a rally that is going to get past your cavalry and get past your ground and your siege to the point where they're going to kill off your archers, you've already lost already. And the archers are not going to get in enough attack to actually make that worthwhile. So you really want to overpower them with the early troops, like your siege attack, and you want to have really high HP on some of the troops, like your siege and your ground and so on, just to keep those troops alive. And then you'll get more in the end out of those ranged troops. But like I said, I mean, it's small nitpicking. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. It's just some consideration for the future. But it really also depends entirely on the play style of your alliance and who you're competing against. It might not be the case in a few months or a year. Who knows? Just some things to keep in mind. These are looking pretty good. It's nothing too crazy. Yeah, I love these. These are good. This is looking very good. Okay. So, I mean, take it or leave it with the range troop attack. I would leave them as they are. Maybe boost this siege machine attack up. But definitely consider having some mounted troop attack, like plus 1,000 or whatever it is, to get in there. They'll be way more effective. And you might even want to leave, I don't know, if you might want to leave these pieces and then have an alternate piece that you swap in that has specifically those mounted flat attacks. Because you know when they're going to do that, right? You know when they are sending a ground attack against you, you can just swap off one or two of those pieces and you can just decimate them. All right, let's take a look at some other stuff you have. Okay, you got your Simeon, fully specialized, beautiful. Simeon is a wonderful choice here. And you've got 1 star to get that extra 20% HP and some attack. Great. Let's take a look at Simeon's gear. All right, we have decent refinement. Offensively, these are not as strong as percentages, but it's a very, very small difference. So if you have a high flat one, then it's perfectly fine to take those. Because you're usually using like a tier 12 or maybe tier 13 as your offensive attack for ranged, usually. So unless you're starting to really use the tier 15 and tier 14 and massive amounts, and then you don't have to be so worried. Just take whatever's best, percentage or flat. Okay, a little bit of work on refinement to do here for some defense, sure. Same here. I mean, you know these things. This is looking really nice. I like this. Great refinement there. This one needs a little bit more work. And that's looking decent. I mean, it's a tough thing, right? To refine and then you get like a 24 and you're like, should I keep it? It's not close to 30, but it's still a pretty good number. And then you get your next roll and you're like, 21. Man, it's a tough choice, because the more you lock in, the harder it gets. And then you look back at the end, you got 19, 19, 24, 21, and it's not as good as it could have been. And then now every time you want to correct it, it's very, very costly. When I do the refinement, I try to be really, really picky for that first one. I don't even know if I would keep a 24. I probably would have waited to get a 27 or a 28 or above. And then on the second one, I might have waited for like a 25 just because I know how difficult these last two are. I mean, this is good overall. And you probably don't want to waste your gems fixing it, but could have been better. Right? Refinement is such a pain in the butt in this game. It really is. Okay, you're using Scipio for ground. Okay. Little bit of work. So ground, typically you're going to use tier 13, tier 14 in higher amounts than tier 12. So percentages are going to be a lot more effective than flat numbers. So try to stick to the percentages. This is looking better. It's still some work to do, but I like these two. Yeah. That's a curious one. That might be on the wrong unit and you just didn't have anything else to put on your Scipio. Is it there unintentionally? I'm not sure. Because I'm not really sure what the function is here. There's not even a whole lot. I mean, you don't get anything from basic attributes. You don't get anything from the refines. So I think this one is probably accidental. It's not supposed to be on your Scipio. Okay, looks all right. You're using a Spirit Beast. So we're going to take a look at your dragons later because it's weird that you wouldn't have a dragon to use and maybe you don't have your Wanderers unlocked. Because, yeah, that's different too. You'd usually want the Wonder 2 dragon here. I'm guessing you don't have your Wonder yet. Okay. Well, you do what you got to do. Hannibal, is that who you're using? Okay, this one's underdeveloped, so we don't need to spend too much time here. All right, so we've seen so far that you have a really strong Simeon. You have a pretty decent William Marshall. And your Scipio is also pretty good. Okay, there's a little bit of work to do here or there, and yeah, you need to collect some dragons, but it looks like the bulk of your troops should be archer and ground, with siege as a defensive because you don't really have an offensive setup yet. So in that case, yeah, I don't see much else that's really set up. So you just have those generals, unless I'm missing something. Yeah, that's about it. So let's go back and look at your troops and the way that you're building those. Your ground, your Scipio is pretty good, but you just don't have the troop count to really follow through on your Scipio. You're going to need some more 13s. You could use your 12s for now, but you're going to have to bulk up a little bit on your ground. You're really cav heavy in the top end, and that's going to be difficult for when you're trying to defend. You've got the nice tier 1s at the very bottom, 200 million of those, which is awesome, but you got to have the flat refines to make really good use of that. I mean, they'll still do a good chunk of damage, and they'll still be very defensible, but they could be a lot more effective if you had that refinement. Your siege setup for your William Marshall and your ranged, the refines were more focused on range and siege. That looks okay. Yeah, you don't want to be too top heavy on siege. It's looking good. You probably want to boost up your ranged in your 12s and your 13s quite a bit. Your siege, yeah, it's looking okay. 12 is looking good. 11 is looking great. Okay. So there's nothing too worrisome about any of those. Just pad them up a bit, obviously. And I've already talked about your cav. You're very cav heavy. I wouldn't build any more cav. I mean, you're probably using this because you want to run bosses. But then again, I don't think I saw a general for bosses. Simeon, Scipio. So using Hannibal, and it's not really set up. So if you're looking at having a really developed boss general, I mean, you've already got the troops for it, so you should be a lot more developed, I would think, in terms of cavalry, but it doesn't seem you've worked on that one at all. Yeah, Dragon, Ares. So you've got a start to it, but yeah, you need a lot more work on your Hannibal to be useful both for bosses and also for PvP. Like, there's a lot more to do here. So definitely don't build any more cavalry. You've got way too much for what you're doing right now. I mean, you don't even have the boss general for that. So I would lay off that for sure and focus on other troops. Okay, let's take a look at your buildings. Military Academy is at 2. Let's take a peek in there. Some of these are really developed. Wow. Looks like you're about ready for 3. Yeah. You're at the end of your 2, so you're going to want to build that so that you can continue, because, I mean, you get so much out of the Military Academy. So you don't want to stop. You're pretty close to being finished off with the Military Academy 2, so get ready for your 3rd. Don't stop this. You're making really good progress here. Yeah. So you got a couple more to go. Build that 3 and pump them out. How about your actual academy? Let's take a look. Okay, construction is going to be finished, of course. Yeah. Okay, defense. Looks like you got the main stuff. Military. Looks good. Medical aid. I mean, nothing wrong with this as long as you're not a huge server versus server person right now. I mean, if you were, you definitely want to finish this off. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to have some of these, but they're much lower priority. Alliance. Yeah, you got reinforcing stuff. Okay. Okay. Sub-cities looking good. Yep. Perfect. You know what you're doing. Recovery, who cares? And military advance. Yeah, this one we've got to take a look at really well. All done. All done. All done. Oh, looks very good so far. Training doesn't matter so much. Okay, so you just got 2 more to go here. There's a gold shortage, but your academy looks flawless. You look good there. Okay. Let's scroll around. What do we want to talk about next? So we talked about generals. Oh, we didn't finish with generals, actually. We just focused on the military. Let's take a look at some of the other areas, too. Development. That's interesting. So this is what you're using for your boss. Aha. I didn't see her in the military tab because she's not military. And that's why. So this makes more sense. Okay, so your presets were just PvP presets. But this is what you use for your boss. Okay, and you're using Rurik. How many? 1, 2, 3-piece Rurik. Okay. And you've got Han. Okay. So this makes more sense. This is why you have the cavalry. Now I get it. Okay. All right. Troop HP, great. Yeah. So this one is has no useful refinement for your cavalry. All you get is the 25% mounted attack, and then you get the all troop defense. So not the best piece here right now. You don't even have the set bonus. Yeah, these are pretty low as well. Yeah. But, it looks like you're just trying to get something so that you could do bosses, and that's fine. But you're going to want to eventually visit this again. Or actually, what I would probably do realistically is I would leave this alone and just have it as it is, and then focus now on a PvP mounted general like that Hannibal, and get gear specifically to build that guy up in a similar way to what you did with your William Marshall and your Simeon and your Scipio. When you can get that guy up, you'll be able to use the gear as a secondary boss general or primary boss general, but also in PvP, so you'd be doubling up on that. But this is looking okay. Interesting. Okay. Now, the question for you're very limited on dragons. Very limited. You've got Fafnir and you've got Celtic Demon. When you put the dragons on your, I don't even know how to say it, Aethelflate, when you put it on her, it means you are not able to use it on your PvP general. You wouldn't normally necessarily put it on the wall, because these ones are not great on the wall. But your Scipio? You got one for Simeon. Your Scipio is using a beast. So when you build up your Hannibal, you might want to switch that to the Hannibal so that you can use it for PvP as well. It's going to make a big difference. You don't really have a siege, so you'd probably just do it that way. It's just a consideration. Okay, let's take a look at duty. You got two. We already saw this one. 2 stars on your Toyotomi. Skanderbeg, 1 star, perfect. Yeah, I like to see that there's like 1 stars on most of these guys. Really shows that you know what you're doing. There's a couple more that like some of these are pretty easy to get. Like you could probably get Oleg quite easily. And to get that star as well, so you can get the troop defense and HP. Ashoka, nice. This guy's really easy to get as well. You can definitely get that. A little bit harder. Guanreel you can get, but you're doing the right thing. It's looking good. Minchikov. He's got a star, but you replaced him with what's the dude's name? Ashoka. So what? Yeah. In-city ground troop and mounted troop defense 25 and HP 25. Yeah, that's definitely better. Menchikov only had 15. Yeah, you made the right choice there. Okay, anything on subs? Using Baldwin, Mark Antony, Baldwin. Yeah. Oh, you got a star here. Nice. And another one there. Yeah, your generals are really developed, with the exception of your PvP builds. I mean, you got more work to do there, but you're doing the right things. Absolutely. Okay. So we've looked at generals. The weakest point so far of what I've seen in your account is the dragons. Right? You've got your 2 dragons. You don't have your wonder unlocked. That has to be a priority. Right? You're going to need to get this. And the earlier you do it, the better. It's only top 10 now. If you're in an alliance that is pretty active and controlling on your server, you should be able to squeeze in top 10 without too much effort. You just play it safe, you get some easy points, and you just get in your top 10, get that unlocked, because the dragons are so important, and the earlier you get them, the sooner you'll be able to build them up. After you get that, like, you can get the second one pretty easily as well. The third wonder is very challenging, but the first two, most people can get that. So you can definitely get that and get those dragons. Definitely want to try to do that. Okay. Yododono. What a great name. Yeah, you're really ranged heavy. Interesting. Range. Okay. Books look okay. Simeon with Minamoto. Decent combo. All right. Let's take a look at your presets. Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about with your troop count. When you have your troop count as it is, it's... What is your march size? 2.2. Yeah, that's great. You'd probably want to be more, in most cases, for longevity, more something like this. But the problem is you don't have a lot of 12s. Like, you can go less 12s and a little more 13s and so on, but yeah, you're going to want to build those numbers up, because if you're using almost your entire troops on one attack, I mean, how are you going to sling? It's going to be really difficult. So try to get the 12s are less costly. Try to build that up a bit so that you can actually do a few. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Your preset looks good here. Where are your layers? I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you usually only use these. This is just my guess. If I'm wrong, like, I'm not going to go and do it, but my guess is you probably put on looks like you have a lot of juniors. You probably put on a junior, and then all those layers will come back, right? I mean, I feel like the game should adjust itself percentage-wise when your march size decreases so that you don't lose your layers. But this is Evony, and Evony's Evony. But that's what I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess if I pop that, then I'd start to see layers here and everything would be okay. If that's not the case, then you need to fix your preset, because you absolutely need to layer all the way down. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here and say that that's probably what is happening here. Hannibal and Elise. Okay, that's interesting. This would not be a very effective one, just because your Hannibal is just not built up. I mean, you would probably have a better result right now in the short term by just putting on your Aethelflaed. Not even joking. Even though so much of that is terrible monster specific stuff. Where is your Aethel? I don't even know where she is. But even though almost everything on there is like monster specific, right? And it won't actually work. Let's take a look. Let's do a quick comparison. Your Hannibal. There should be like a button that shows you, like, click, here's all the stats all added together. There should be. I don't know why there isn't. Okay, so these are like all in the 15s. Nothing there. Yeah. So you're not getting a whole lot out of your Hannibal's gear at all. And then your Aethelflaed, that's significantly better. That's significantly better. I mean, so you're going to lose on the basic attributes, right? Because this is on monsters, but you still get to keep this. You still get to keep this. You still get to keep all this. This Rurik is way better than what you had on the other guy. Yeah. So, I mean, this would be your PvP mounted for now while you build up the other one. Because this is better. I mean, it's not ideal. Like, these two aren't getting used, but everything else is. So, consider that. Yes, it's going to not be too useful having this, not having this, but the gear itself is better. You're not going to be able to use that. You're not going to be able to use that. You can use that, and you can't use that. But ideally, like if you are going to a battlefield and you have some prior notice, take off the dragon, move it over, take off the good gear, move it over, and then your Hannibal will be significantly stronger. But I'm talking about like in the short term, when you're like, oh crap, battlefields right now, don't send that Hannibal. That Hannibal's useless. Send this in the worst case. It's going to do better than your Hannibal, but you know, there's always better ways, and you'll get to the point where you'll have better gear on that Hannibal. Okay. What else can we look at? So Wonder is a huge limitation for you right now with those dragons. I'm going to take a look at your subordinate cities. Purple Japan. Okay. And so this is going to help with your troop training, right, and your resource production. Okay, so that's absolutely fine for now. Arabia in not too great. You're not going to get a whole lot out of Arabia. Healing speed, like Arabia needs a rework. Europe, I mean, after you finish your main buildings, not so useful. Russia's are good. Europe, Japan. All right. So you've got a mix of subs there. Obviously, you're going to want to convert to more PvP stuff after you finish your growth spurt here. But you're keep 38 and you're still pushing. So, I mean, some of those are still useful. Collect. Okay. How's your art stuff? Oh, very nice. Wow, very well developed. This is a lot further along than I was expecting. So who are you missing? Undead. Okay, that's in Hall 2. Alright, this guy, yeah. This guy was free. He came free to every player like 3 years ago. Everyone got him for free. And I don't know if I've seen him since. I don't even know where to get this guy other than just pure luck. There's no easy source to get him. Just get lucky. Wow, but you're doing really good on the art hall. How about, I didn't finish looking at this. Talents. Okay, great. Civ treasure. Oh, level 3. Wow. That's not an easy thing to do. Well done. Civ equipment. Okay. 2. You've got a lot. You have a lot. So there's a lot you can do with what you do have, for sure. Victory column at 1. Okay. Look at all the decorations. Oh, man. Got so many decorations, you don't even bother to claim them. It's funny. Yeah, gold is a huge problem. That's tough. Blaze on. Oh. Nice. New attribute at level 10, not far away. Yeah. So since you're so mounted heavy on defense, you got your 200 million, do you have anything useful for that? In rally, training now. Marching. Reinforcing. And it's all percentage based too, so. Yeah, that's not your focus anyway. Okay, let's take a look at your. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Your ranged is really your focus right now. Your range and your ground. Your ground is developing. There's a little bit of work to do, obviously, on it. But yeah, look at this ranged. Very nice. HP, beautiful. That looks very nice. Okay. Not bad. Not quite as useful, but yeah. No, it's developing really nicely. Definitely coming along. Siege is not really worked on. Okay. Interesting. Okay. What else can we look at? We've looked at generals, we've looked at troops, we've looked at your gear, your refinement. Thunder Dagger. Huh. Interesting. Okay. I don't have one of those. Alright. What are you using for talents? This looks like your everyday kind of talent. Monster hunting. Yeah. Okay. And I guess this will be your PvP. So your talents are a little confusing to me. This seems like it is your everyday one. So you're offering, you got your resource production, research speed. Yeah, it makes sense. The talents are set up in a way that are kind of difficult, right? So you got to make hard choices like, are you going to focus on your resource production, or are you going to have fewer wounded when you're attacking monsters? Like, I kind of go more this path to the mortality, because the big bosses, you can get a lot of wounded, and and resource production is not as huge. I mean, you still can do the gathering and all that, and your production will not be bad. You still get the gathering boost later, but I don't know. It's really your call, and there's no wrong path. It's just a difficult thing. But you definitely have one talent tree that has your resource critical with your training speed, and yeah, this makes sense. Nothing wrong with it. But for me, like what I usually do on my own is I have my PvP and my monster killing set up to be pretty much the same thing. So I think mine goes like offering, because it's like an everyday thing that I keep on. Goes to mortality. And then I'm here. I don't know where I go next. Yeah, I might be doing that. I think that's what I do. And then I don't really have any use for that. Nothing useful until here, but this is important. And I think I have gathering boost, because this is my everyday one. And yeah, I have this on as well to increase the amount of protected food for your upkeep. I believe I use that one. But if you're doing this as a PvP one too, then sure. Yes. Yeah, the rest looks great. I mean, it's all up to you. Just some thoughts there. All right, so I just had a quick peek at your monarch list of power. Like, people on your server go up to like 20 billion. That makes it really hard for you to make top 10. A lot harder than most people for the top 10 Wonder 1. It's still definitely possible, but you got to play it really smart. You might have to get a lot of points from buildings, or just by getting lucky. You know, it's gonna take some practice. It's gonna take some time, but you got to just do it in a cautious way and eventually get it done. It's a tough one. It's definitely going to be pretty tough for you. A lot tougher than a lot of other places, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to get those dragons. You really need those. It's going to make a huge difference. All right, I think that's about it. We've covered pretty much everything that I can think of right now. If you have any questions after watching this video and you want to ask, or there's something I didn't touch on that you have a question on, just send me a private message and we can chat about it. And for those of you watching this video, thanks for watching. I'll see you in a future one.
Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting the channel. If you liked what you saw, please consider hitting the like button and checking out other videos on the Miser's Guide to Evony. I'll see you in the next video.